Hi, I'm Keith, and this is my brother Chris. We wanted to talk to you today about the topic of anger and what the different perspectives people have about it and what it can be used for, really. So, we wanted to ask you, what do you think of when you think of anger? Someone being angry, what comes to mind?
So, what we're talking about right now is not really angry, like in the sense that you become violent or lose
Right.
control. We're talking about anger as in the emotion that actually causes you to make a change. Because the way that we're looking at it is when you're in a situation that's bad, that you don't like how it's treating you, it'll be frustrating, and then it'll eventually reach a breaking point where you finally get angry and you decide that's enough, and that's what causes you to make the change is anger. That's the emotion that
Yeah.
causes it. So, I mean, obviously there are some differences in anger for genders, how we perceive it at least. Like he and I, as males, we kind of view anger as it makes us violent. You know, a guy gets angry, he's going to punch through a wall, something like that. He's going to get violent. And that's, I mean, that's not necessarily true. That's just the perception. Like he and I, we're big guys, but I'm 6'1", he's 6'4", and we were kind of raised to be gentle giants almost, because we were taught that because we're male, because we're bigger than basically everyone we know, that if we get angry, we could hurt someone. So we were kind of raised to just like avoid anger at all costs just so we don't hurt anyone. And that's, we've kind of had to unlearn that almost in our adult lives because anger can be used as a positive emotion. It's just a burst of energy that
Yes.
can cause you to make a change in a bad situation like that. And for women, I think the perception is kind of just losing control, that they lose
Hmm.
control of themselves or the situation or what's going on. So both of those perceptions are bad, obviously, and I think we have to unlearn that and see that anger is what causes you to make a change in a situation that you
Right.
don't like the way it's going.
There was a project that we had been working on, and it should have only taken probably a few weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks maximum.
Yeah. It ended up taking months, and it got so bad that one day could not be distinguished from the next. It felt like days just blended together. Like you couldn't tell a Monday from a Saturday, really. They were all the same. And it was so awful because we had to keep on putting off all of these things. You know, friends would want to go do something, family wanted to go do something, and we couldn't because we were working on this project that's taking all of our time.
Yeah, all of our lives are sucked into this project.
Yeah, and it was really, really frustrating too. And it wasn't one of those things where it was just like an uphill battle. It was like straight up. Nothing was easy. Everything was hard, took way longer than what it should have. It was just awful. And during that time, it really made us frustrated. And I think there's a key difference between being frustrated and being angry. Because angry, like Chris said, a lot of people think of it as violence, of something bad happening. And that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, kind of what brought this up and started this conversation a while ago, whenever this was. What started this idea kind of rolling in our heads was during this project, I had bought a skimboard. I don't know if you know what that is, but we're in Southern California. We're pretty close to the beach, and I have always wanted to be kind of involved in like water sports, learn how to surf, all that kind of stuff. I've just always loved it. And so I bought myself a new skimboard, and I bought it online, and it arrived on a Saturday, and it was beautiful, sunny Saturday. I could hear people outside. They're laughing, they're playing, telling jokes, and I'm inside working on this project. And that was, I think, the point when I realized just how much of my life this was taking because it was a gorgeous Saturday. I had a brand new skimboard, just a few minutes from the beach, and because of the limitations I placed on myself, I mean, I take responsibility for that. The situation was my fault. But still, because of that situation, I couldn't go to the beach to try out my new skimboard. And that was, I think, the point where I realized that the anger about that and about what the situation had become, that was what caused me to make that change and decide that project had to get done, I mean, at the very least, we just had to change how we were going about it.
Right. And I think that when I was mentioning that there's a difference between frustration and anger, what I'm talking about is frustration, if you've noticed it, if you're aware of it and you can think back to what it felt like when you were frustrated last, it's almost like frustration puts you into a box and limits you of what you can do. it almost seems like anything and everything gets in your way, stops you from making good decisions. It's thing after thing after thing, and I think frustration can sometimes lead to someone wanting to punch through a wall or something like that.
Yeah, that's actually
Yeah.
what that emotion is. That's not anger that causes the violence. That would be frustration because
Typically, yes.
that builds up and builds up, and there's no release for it. You can't get rid of it. So that's where those things
Yeah.
come from that we were talking about in the beginning. That's not necessarily anger. That's frustration because that's actually what frustration means is to be stopped. I mean, if you look that up, that actually is the meaning of frustration. I mean, the analogy that I like to use is picture trying to walk down the sidewalk and they're physically blocking you. They will not let you get by. You go to the right, they go to the right and they stop you. You go to the left, they go to the left and they stop you. And you can't get anywhere. And this frustration builds up and builds up. And that would be what causes the feelings of violence, the feelings of losing control. Anger would be that emotion that finally makes you realize, fine, I can't go to the left, I can't go to the right, I'm going to go through you. So that's kind of what we're talking about is that distinction between frustration and anger. The frustration is I can't take any action, there's nothing I can do. Anger is I'm going to take action, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to change the situation.
And there's so many examples of people using anger to their advantage. Off the top of my head, there's so many examples that I've seen of business people, of just explorers, pioneers, where anger drove them to either a case of an incredible tale of survival, or strength, or determination. And you can find this all throughout history. That turning point where someone went enough and they actually made a decision that was based through anger. It wasn't frustration. Obviously, there were things that made them frustrated, but it was anger that actually delivered that decision to make a change in their life, an actual permanent and meaningful change in their life.
Yeah, because anger it's like a burst of energy. It's like jet fuel almost. It gives you the courage almost and the energy just to push through and make that big change and make the world kind of bend to your will and make the situation do exactly what you tell it to do. That's kind of what we're talking about is just that the burst of energy.
Right. And so I guess what we wanted to ultimately ask you is to start seeing anger in a different way, to start noticing when you feel angry, and don't be so afraid of it. Be more open to it, be more scientific about it. Go about it in a way that you think back in your past, even if you have to draw there, to what it led you to do, if anything. Or did you just bottle it up and let it dissipate because you were too afraid of it? Because I can tell you now that if you look at almost any great story, that the moment of resolve was when someone decided that that was enough and through anger made that decision to change their life in some way or another. And so, how I would say to use anger in a positive way would be to let that build up happen. That frustration is the build up almost, I believe, to anger. And that frustration leads to anger, which leads to huge changes in your life. So if you really want to start living a better, more fulfilling life, I think that anger can be a huge key to that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, this was just a short video just to kind of touch on the topic and get the conversation started and the thoughts rolling. But we've put together a free gift for you that I'm sure you'll enjoy to kind of delve a little bit more into this topic and, see exactly what we're talking about and get those thoughts rolling. So, I mean, it's somewhere on this page. I don't know. I'll decide where the button's going to go. It'll be above or below or somewhere. But you'll see it'll be big and probably a bright color. So, I mean, you can download that for free, and I mean, if this is interesting, you can take a look at that and, kind of get those thoughts started and start using anger in a positive way to make changes in your life where changes need to happen. So, I mean, this is Keith and Chris. I guess enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for taking the time to listen to us ramble.
See ya.